The Batman conundrum. What is going on with Matt Reeves' Batman universe? And what is going on with Andy Muschietti's The Brave and the Bold? So you can go over at slavsfreetalk.com, check out this article that we did covering the newest rumor that stems from Christian Harloff's podcast. Now, I know there's a lot of you who will sit there and say Christian Harloff is not the greatest podcaster, greatest person to take some information from, but this news came out just the other day, and it is sort of interesting. It is sort of thought-provoking in a way, because, well, there's been a lot of information and news surrounding Batman lately. There's a lot of people who still want to see Matt Reeves Batman, Pattinson in the DCU. There's a lot of people who are saying, no, The Brave and the Bold is going to be its own thing. Plus, if you think about it, over the last number of months, what has it been, 16 months since Andy Muschietti has been announced as the director for Brave and the Bold, we've heard nothing. So what is being said? So over, like I said, on the Christian Harloff show, these are some of the things that Christian Harloff was saying that he heard, that he was told was overheard by executives at Warner Brothers. Now, again, keep in mind, this isn't coming from DC Studios. This is something that Christian Harloff was making sure to reiterate on a couple occasions here. He says, there were executives that were talking about this, that the Batman 3 could be canceled if Superman outperforms the Batman. He prefaces this by saying this is discussions made by Warner Brothers Discovery executives, not DC Studios, and that James Gunn and Peter Safran may not even know about these talks that they had. He continued saying Batman Brave and the Bold would be expected to come out between Batman 2 and Batman 3, and it would be too confusing for the audiences. These executives are also worried that Gunn's decision to let Muschietti direct it, The Brave and the Bold, because The Flash underperformed and audiences didn't respond to this or to his tone, and they are not sure he is the right choice. Harloff reiterated that Gunn had not been in on these conversations, but states, will be obviously. They will cross this bridge later, depending on finished scripts and Gunn's opinions on it. Well, I should probably spell check that there, as you see. But regardless, we see this is a really interesting topic here. This is really interesting because, first off, let's take a look at the Matt Reeves stuff. All right. We can go back months, and we know that there was a lot of doubt on whether Batman 2 was going to be coming out because of the DCU ramping up and getting started. The fact that the Penguin is doing so well, I think, really solidifies the fact that we are going to get Batman 2 no matter what. Batman 2 is coming. It's going to come out, and it's probably going to do gangbusters. It's going to do just as well, if not better than the first Batman, just because of how well we're seeing the Penguin do. So that's neither here nor there. Batman 2 is coming. So what does that mean for Batman 3? Well, if Batman 2 does as well as Batman 1 or better, they would be foolish to not allow or to not greenlight Batman 3, right? Let's also take a look at the fact that James Gunn has been building a good relationship with Matt Reeves, besides the fact of how much that he's allowed the creative freedom to flow with the Penguin, given Matt Reeves the time to really write the script for Batman 2, not to mention that they're working on this dynamic duos project together. You have to figure they've got this relationship going that is, pretty close. So to sit there and say that James Gunn is just going to, no Batman 3 now because Superman did well. Again, these comments coming from Harloff, he's heard this from another source who heard this from another source. And that's where things start to fall apart. Christian Harloff's like, yes, I've heard executives say this kind of stuff before. And yes, executives talk. They do talk. But let's not forget that DC Studios answers to Zaslav. Any other executives within there don't tell James Gunn what to do. It's that simple. James Gunn runs the studio. These other executives don't run the studio. Sure, they can have conversations. Sure, they can say, hey, we think this might be best. But ultimately, James Gunn runs the studio with Peter Safran. If they decide, hey, the best course is to make Batman 3 to make money. Remember, it's about making money. If Batman 2 made them money and they know that Batman 3 would make them money, then that's what they do. But here's another thing. We don't even know if Matt Reeves is planning a Batman 3. They could be writing Batman 2 to be the end of it. That's another thing that we don't know. They could have had discussions like, look, we want to end it here, Matt. We want to end it here because of what we're doing with the DCU. So maybe that's why it's taken so long for the script to get made. Maybe they're trying to find a way to end the story there. Again, there's so much that is unknown about all of this. And that's what a lot of this information these executives may not even know that. Again, there's so much that is unknown. But now let's talk about the Muschietti part of it. The Muschietti part of it, like I said, I think it is interesting because June 2023 is when Muschietti was announced as the director for Brave and the Bold. Now, since then, he has been working on Welcome to Derry, the prequel to the It series. So he's been invested in that, which is fine. But he hasn't said much of anything. James Gunn hasn't said much of anything. There really hasn't been much information about Brave and the Bold since then. So what does that mean for the movie? Now, post-production is in full swing with Welcome to Derry. They may be even close to finishing it. You would think that there would be some information coming out for Brave and the Bold. We don't know what's going on with that. Hopefully we start to hear some information soon. Hopefully we hear about a script being completed. Hopefully we hear some kind of information about it soon. But here's the thing. Could they be looking at going a different route with it? Could they say, you know what, Muschietti, we might want to move you over here. We might want to move you over here. Maybe he's given some story ideas. Maybe he's passed some things to James Gunn and they're just not feeling it. And maybe they want to move on from him. We don't know. I don't see any reason not to go with Muschietti. I don't think The Flash is as bad as everybody says. Yes, the VFX weren't great. But that isn't necessarily all on Muschietti. Remember, there's a team behind him who creates those VFX. Remember, during that time, it wasn't just DC. Marvel and other studios, their VFX teams were way overworked and way understaffed and way underpaid, and nothing was looking good for VFX. Yes, Flash was one of the worst. I agree to that. But when you take a look at the story, when you take a look at the directing, it was a solid film. It really was. I enjoyed that movie from a story standpoint. I think, though, when you get down to it, I think Muschietti will be okay to do Brave and the Bold. I do believe that. But again, it is a little concerning that we haven't heard anything in 16 months. Maybe we start to hear something soon, maybe. But again, this whole thing is starting to be a little ridiculous. And I think this is why James Gunn needs to start to get out in front of the public. I know he does a lot of things on social media, which is great. It is great. I love that he goes on threads and says, hey, answers people's questions and things like that. We're going to talk more about that on the live show this coming week. But, the thing is, I think he needs to start getting out to the conventions. He really needs to. He needs to get out there and start talking at conventions. And sure, he's going to be at New York Comic Con coming up. And rumor has it he'll be at CCXP at the end of the year. But he really needs to get out there and talk more because it's gonna kind of, ease the minds and stop these kind of rumors, I think. But let me know your thoughts about all this. I know a lot of people want to see Pattinson in the DCU, which is a terrible idea. It is just a horrible idea. I know people think it's a good idea, but it's not. It is not a good idea. You can like Pattinson, you can like that universe, and it doesn't need to be part of the DCU. It does not. It is too grounded. It is not as fantastical as they're going with the DCU. It needs to stick out of it. But let me know your thoughts on all of this. Do you think Muschietti is the right choice for Brave and the Bold? Do you think they're going to continue with him? What do you think they're going to do with Matt Reeves? Do you think Batman 2 is going to be the last? What do you think is going to happen? And honestly, if Superman is successful Do you really think they're going to say, well, James Gunn, because your movie's successful, you don't get to make the decisions of DC Studios? That doesn't make any sense. If Superman is successful, which it's going to be, they're going to say, look, James Gunn, you know what you're doing. It seems like you know what you're doing. Go right ahead. Like, come on, guys. Like, things just seem a little weird with this rumor. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.